Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 14, Chapter 34, Discrimination and Detachment, Part 2 of 2. Avoiding duty to Atma is sheer cowardice. When man is entangled until the moment of death, instilling the clamor of the senses and catering to the needs of this illusory world, how can he thrill with ecstasy of the awareness of his own Atmic core? From the monarch in the palace to the beggar in the streets, all are caught up in the game of extracting pleasure from the outer world. The illiterate man and the scholar are equally busy in the pursuit of this mirage. So what are we to say of the superior capacities of scholarship? Earning money, guarding the earned money, increasing it by the surest and safest methods. Thus the struggle goes on, plus, plus, plus. The bondage to worldly things tightens faster and faster. No one pauses to inquire how deep or how real is the joy that these earnings can give. And what of the fashions that he enslaves himself to? They justify these aberrations as social obligations and duty. But have people no duty towards the Atma? Have they no obligation to recognize the Atma? Should they not bind themselves fast to the Atma, which is the reality? It is sheer cowardice to avoid this duty, to ignore this obligation, and to turn away from this sacred bond. Of course, you have to live on the earth and understand it. You have to study the universe and derive joy therefrom. But to believe that it is the be-all and end-all of life is a sign of insanity. Avoid evil thoughts and evil habits. You have been attending such discourses since years and undergoing these journeys to Swami's presence often and often, and you have listened to the lessons I am giving. Let me ask you, what is the gain you have garnered? How near are you to the goal? Which obstacle have you overcome? If you have not reached the higher stage, what have you profited from the sadhana? How can you justify the label devotee which you have adopted for yourselves? No, you must progress towards the goal step by step. You have to uproot evil thoughts, evil habits, and evil designs from within you. Repeating God, 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 you are now only straying away into ungodly realms. Analyze every object and discover the cheapness and hollowness in each. Then, genuine vairagya, detachment, will be planted in your heart. So utilize the priceless weapon, the perfect mirror that God has given you, the buddhi, intellect, for the journey to God. An old adage announces that buddhi is shaped by one's actions. Buddhi karma anusarini. But this is not quite correct. The mind prompts the sense for action. It has the buddhi on one side and the senses on the other, and is drawn by both into action. When the manas, mind, leans towards the senses and activates them, bondage results. If it leans towards the intelligence, which is illuminated by the Atma, liberation results. Sometimes the buddhi is enticed by the fake delight that the mind revels in through the senses. Sadhana has to be used at these moments to turn it away from serfdom to the mind. It must be restored to its status of regulator and controller of the vagaries of the mind. Man is riding two horses, the world and God. This flower is beautiful. It gives exciting, enchanting fragrance. Declare the eye and the nose. The wise man will not be content with the sense impression. He resorts to buddhi and wants it to discover. How long? How much? The answer is until nightfall, until the new day dawns. Therefore he concludes true beauty, true fragrance can be derived only from God, not from created things and components, not from the moving and changing, emerging and merging, appearing, attracting and disappearing entities of the world. What then is truth? The witness of all these process and changes, the seer of all that is seen, the one that has no second, unaffected by time and space. Man is now riding two horses, the world and God, the universal and the particular, the absolute and the relative, the eternal and the time-bound, the reality and the appearance. He is therefore riding for a fall. Sadhana alone can help man to choose the right path and pursue it relentlessly. Every religion in every era and clime emphasizes the one and marks out the path to reach it. They warn us against too much attachment to the world, which is basically poisonous. You may drink it with delight, but that will not mitigate its evil effects. You may drink the Atmic ambrosia, weeping and wailing, but it will confer immortality nevertheless. So keep away from worldly enticements and turn your eye inwards to visualize the Atma. Detachment alone can make the path clean. The Antakarana, inner consciousness, has four instruments that prompt man. Of these, buddhi is two-faced. It draws light from the Atma to which it is closest. It illumines with that light the mind and the senses. It regulates the passions and emotions, the impulses and instinctive reactions. Some perverse minds raise questions such as, is it not our duty to ensure the safety and happiness of our wives and children? How can you declare that it is not desirable? Yes, but remember the prime purpose of the education you earn in this life is to concentrate on your Atmic truth. Do not be diverted from this fundamental duty. Other activities must smoothen and straighten this path. They must be contributory sadhanas, spiritual disciplines, for this basic purpose of man. Sadhakas, spiritual aspirants, embodiments of love. Yearn always to be as close to your divine core as possible. You need not desert your family and run away into loneliness. You have only to keep in mind the comparative triviality of the world. Death stalks every living being. Disintegration waits on all created things. From a world so transient, so uncertain and unstable, one has to win the goal of eternal peace and eternal bliss. The eternal Atma is associated with the ephemeral body. Discrimination alone can make this plain. Detachment alone can make the road clear. End of part 2 of 2. Dashara Discourse, September 26th, 1979. Dharma guards those that guard Dharma. Dharma means certain obligations and duties and regulations over actions, words, and behavior. Elders have certain obligations towards younger people as young men have towards elders. Neighbors have mutual duties and rights. Even war has to be carried on under some rules of decency and humanity. The mighty should not grab the possessions of the weak. The pledged word has to be honored. If India sticks to these principles of Dharma, that Dharma alone will serve as effective armor against all the foes. Sri Sathya Sai Baba.